Hey everyone, this is Erin Ashley Simon.
And this is Brandon Killabh Hall.
And welcome to another episode of Grassroots Podcast, where it's not just about where you're going, where you currently are, but it's also about where you came from. Today we have a special guest. This is Take Two.
Take two.
Take two.
Yeah, Raqi. That's Raqi. Just so you know.
And again for Take
Not to
Two,
be
this is
confused
going to be a long
R-O-C-K-Y.
podcast.
Well, my name used to be R-O-C-K-Y, and then I got in touch with my feminine side, and I went with R-A-Q-I. Just a touch.
I feel like you're like Prince. Like you changed your name like 3 times. Like why the change?
Perfect. Seasons change, bipolar swings, stuff like that.
Okay. Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Actually, the spelling of Raqi really did come from the fact that Raqi is a masculine name, R-O-C-K-Y. So Raqi short for Raquel. So I said R-A-Q-I, and it's just really cute. I double dot the I, and I fell in love.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Hey, but what about the name after the Raqi that you changed
Raqi
from Thunder to
Thunda, right?
Yeah.
Thunder with an A. That started years ago because I actually have thunder thighs, and if you're on camera, you can see what's going on here. So it started off with my friends saying Thunder, Thunder, Thundercat, whoa, because I'm an 80s baby, and we used to watch Thundercats. So it was really stupid and fun at the same time. But when I did radio back in the day, the name Raqi Thunda, everyone thought I was like huge, like a wrestler or something like that. And I thought it was cool because I didn't want anyone to know how fabulous and naturally gorgeous I am. So, I stuck to it. And then I recently went to the Olympics, and there was a track runner with the last name Ferrari, and I was there with my girlfriend Jamie Lynn, and she was like, "Oh, that's a dope name." I was like, "Yeah, Jamie Lynn Ferrari." She was like, "And Raqi Bugatti." And I was like, and that was just another silly thing, but I'm with it.
Oh, so like all these things are like just people just fucking with you, and you take them, and then just That's kind of dope.
Yeah, it's just like how I feel.
Okay. All right, so let's get into you per se, because you've traveled
That's
around.
What he says.
What?
That's what he says. Go ahead.
Fucking hate Raqi, people. I hate her. But let's get into your journey career-wise, because you've been in different circles, different media entities, different I guess outlets, for lack of a better word. So where did your career progression start for you?
Many moons ago. My career changes as much as my name, if not more. I started way back in the day doing internet radio when people were like, "Oh, that's corny. It's not an FM station." However, I had people like Dame Dash on my show. I had all kinds of big names while people were sleeping on it. That was years ago, and it's so funny how the tides change, and podcasting is the thing. I'm like, it's not too much different than internet radio. So I started off doing internet radio. My actual first real interview was with Timbaland, and that's back when he opened the Cherry Lounge back in Harlem. And the very first day, Beyonce came, Jay-Z came, Bruce Willis came, and it was just a room full of people, and I was just like, holy shit, how did I get in here? And there's a backstory to how I got in there too. But anyway, long story short, I just took a shot at Timbo, and I said, "Hey, I want to do an interview on you." And he was like, "All right, cool." So I did an interview with him, and I had nowhere to place it. There was no internet radio then. There was nothing going on. I was just like, fuck it, I just need this information. So it went really well. And then a few months later, I had sent the transcript over to my friend. A few months later, I got a magazine in the mail called Rhyme and Reason from Australia, and my interview was in there. So that was the spark that was like, okay, I'm kind of dope.
Now, how did your peers take to that? Because you originally didn't start out in media, right?
I don't know where my start came from. I actually was a stockbroker, an investment banker for quite some time. I always loved radio. It goes back, as far back to my dad having a Cadillac that had a CB radio in there. And I used to get on there, Breaker 19, and then I came up with the name Ladybug, and the truckers knew my name. They was like, "Oh, there goes Ladybug." And I was like, I like this radio shit. And then I took it a step forward and found out that if you break headphones in a certain kind of way and attach it to your boombox, it can be a microphone. So I started recording myself that way. And then little by little, I was just like, you know what, radio is my thing. And then my name was Radio Rock. And but I needed to make money, a lot of it. I'm a single mom. And I was like, I'm not about to work at a radio station or intern at a radio station and not be able to pay bills. So I was like, what's the best way in New York City to make a lot of money and still be able to do, like follow my dreams? And I was like, oh, Wall Street. And that was just another jump out the window where people were like, come on, Rock, Wall Street. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I took my Series 7 and passed, which is not the average person doesn't pass on the first time.
That's a difficult
it's a very difficult test. In fact, in ratings of difficult test difficulties would be the MCAT, then the bar, then the Series 7. And so, yeah. So anyway, I passed my Series 7 and I got the job that I needed to make a lot of money. And from there, I was like, okay, work my day job, go home, do homework with the kid, feed him, put him to sleep, and then hit a radio station. And that's what I did for several years, and it just took off from there. Yeah.
That's dope. That's really awesome. Like that, I think that's awesome how like you went and did something that probably people thought you couldn't do.
Yeah, I think everyone can do anything you put your mind to. Just go for it. You're going to fall on your face quite a few times, but just get used to it and dust yourself off and keep going.
Mm-hmm. Now, fast forwarding, going into, now you have your own show, on Sirius. Talk to me about that. How did that opportunity present itself to you? And like, what was the first emotion that you, kind of was overwhelming? Was it, like, well, shit, I'm here now. Like, what do I do?
Well, it's funny because prior to that, everything I've ever done, honestly, everything I've ever done, I've bum rushed the situation. I will have little to no experience in it at all. But I just push for it. Like, I can do this. In my mind, I'm just like, I can do this. I want to do it. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. It could be literally a thought that comes to my mind today, and tomorrow I'm at a TV station or a radio station and won't know anyone. And I'm like, okay, well, their morning show starts at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be there at 5 o'clock, and I'm going to bump into you, and I'm going to make this happen. Mm-hmm. And so my first real start with radio, kind of behind the scenes, was with Star and Buck Wild. Mm-hmm. And I literally stood outside every single day at 5 a.m. with my resume and pink colors, red colors, green colors, something that would stand out. And then finally, Star was like, what the fuck do you want? And I was like, I want a job. I want to work. I want to do radio, and I want to work with you. So he brought me in, and it was funny. He was with DX21 at the time, and I was there, and I was just excited. Like, shit, I'm just in the studio. Like, I don't know what mic I'm going to jump on. And that really wasn't being offered to me at the time. But I was like, I'm in here. And DX was like, aren't you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? I'm like, yeah, bitch. Yeah. And it's so funny because right when that happened is when Star said some disparaging things on air. And actually that day I was still at my day job, and I'm listening to him. I'm like, ooh, in another 2 weeks I'm resigning. That's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to be on radio. And I'm listening to the radio show, and I hear him say this shit, and I'm like, oh boy, we all getting fired today. And literally that's what happened. But I was like, I couldn't let that stop me. So yeah, he actually started writing a book, Star and Buck Wild. He was writing a book, and I was like, let me help you edit it. And he was like, are you a writer? And I'm like, no, I know English very well. So, I took the book and started skimming through it. So little by little, I've discovered that anything I want to do, I'm going to do it. And if that makes me a jack of all trades, so be it. Mm-hmm. But it's paid well. It's been fun. It goes with my very flighty personality. Mm-hmm. I feel like, the saying is a jack of all trades, the master of nothing, but I think it's bullshit. I think I can master something in 6 months and move on.
Yeah, I think that too. I think it also, to your point, it also talks about the amount of effort and work you put into it. Like, mm-hmm. that's crazy. You're sitting out there out of a radio station every day, and
as
you
a woman,
thought, you know what I'm saying? You thought enough to say, all right, let me change the color of my resume, and let me spice it up. Let me get them to notice me. A lot of people want things to happen, but don't really put in the effort, or don't really think outside the box to stand out in that freaking ridiculously competitive market as is, especially at that time. Yeah. So that's pretty dope. Now, fast forwarding a little bit more, you're now on 106.
Well, I never got to the part of going on to Hip Hop Nation. I don't recall exactly how I got on Hip Hop Nation. All I know is that DJ Green Lantern had a spot on there, and I just kind of stalked him out. I called one person like, hey, do you have this guy's number? And I called him. I was like, I'm a personality. And he was like, just come up. And I never left. Like, I came up that Monday, and then I came up the next Monday, and it was like, there's no stopping me. And it's just like, I get comfortable with people in a way. They're like, oh, she's just cool. She's just chilling. And I'm like, no, I'm a shark, and I'm carving out my position right here. And that's really what happened. And I stayed for 5 years. And the program director, shout out to Reggie, who hated my guts, but never understood how there was a new co-host on this show. He didn't hire me himself. But I was there every day.
So what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome? Because I know, like, as a woman, getting into the media industry is fairly tough. I mean, I'm sure you've had people try to, like, proposition, like, come at you certain ways.
Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Well, there is a story with Harvey, but I'm going to hold that for the book.
Oh.
There's a ton of obstacles that you go through as a woman in general. But I don't let that stop me. Like, for instance, I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he's like, oh, you know what? You're dope. It's just like, but you just never stick to one thing. There's two reasons why I don't. One is because I'm constantly on the run for money. Like, I don't want to be the starving artist, and I don't ever want to be that. I have a kid who I support, and I like living a nice lifestyle. So my thing is, like, if you're a real estate agent, which I'm that as well, you sold a house this week, and 2 weeks later you haven't sold a house. What are you going to do? Go find something else to do. If it's go work at a car wash or whatever it is. So that was part of the reason. Part of the difficulties in making it in media is because I'm like, okay, it's my presence is wearing thin, or the money's not picking up fast enough, so I got to go over here and go secure the bag and then come back. That's one. Two, not only am I just a woman, I roll solo for the most part. I don't have a big squad. I don't have a team. So a lot of the women that you see progress in media is because they have a nice team behind them, and that's worth a ton of money in itself. But I don't. So I get certain requests sometimes, or I get certain, vibes from people. It's just like, hey, if you want to do this, let's go out for dinner. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'll go to dinner, and I'll order shit until you're almost disgusted with me, and then that's about it. And if you have a job for me the next day, cool. If not, then I'm done with it.
So what's, like, one of the craziest things that's happened to you before? No names, but just, like, what was the craziest thing?
No, I would never give names, and that's part of the other reason why I have the moniker Hip Hop's Confidant, is because I have really great intimate relationships with a lot of people in this industry. And I say intimate, not saying physically intimate, but I mean, I'm the one that they call at 3 a.m. and, like, spill the beans about everything from their dark childhoods to what's going on in their relationships now. So it's really crazy. But I haven't gone through anything super, super crazy where it's just like, okay, call the cops kind of situation. But after going on Love and Hip Hop is when the doors swung open to people trying me in ways that they've never tried me before. Prior to going on that show, it was like I was, the kid's sister to everyone. And it was just like, oh, Raqi's just dope, and she's fly, and she's cool, she's no drama. So it's like anything I ever wanted to do, whether it be 106 in Park or whatever it is, it was just like make a phone call like, hey, Mike, can you, I said a name, but anyway, Mike is cool. Can you call can you call Stephen Hill for me and see? And it's like, oh, Raqi, we don't have to go that far up the chain. I was like, no, call Stephen and get me on 106 in Park. So it was really, really cool then. But then I went on Love and Hip Hop, and in that arena where women are called bitches and hoes and sluts and whores every minute of the day, whether you're a virgin or 2 guys, 3 guys, whatever the case may be, you're labeled something automatically being on that show, because that's part of, the dynamic of the show. It was funny because I feel like some of the executives and decision makers in the industry was just like, oh, wait, Raqi's a hoe? Like, I didn't get none. She's sleeping with who and what? And obviously it's all lies and deception. It's part of the role that you unfortunately have to play on that show. But it was like right after that, the approach from people who I would say was, oh, this is my brother. This is someone I could call. This is my right-hand man. Like, I got the president of this company that can make this phone call, started approaching me a little bit differently. And so I don't want to blame it all on Love and Hip Hop, but that was where the start of the situations or approaches in that way started. But also what changed with that as well is I always had the balance of being an investment banker or being in the stock market and doing media by night, 9 to 5 by day. And after doing Love and Hip Hop, it went from me doing this out of a passion and me just loving media and wanting to be a personality and having my bread and butter with my 9 to 5. I didn't need anything from anyone, to me leaving corporate and being in the media world and industry world. And that's when they know, like, oh, okay, she needs us now. Like, in order for her to keep her lights on and pay her bills, you know, she needs this next gig.
Yeah.
So that's where people start dangling the carrots and like, oh yeah, I can get you in this door. And it's just like, fuck yourself, and I'm going to figure another way.
Now, talk to us about Love and Hip Hop, because, you know, obviously that was a rough time for you. You know, it was a lot of slander, a lot of you know, negative comments being made, and I think, you know, me knowing you personally, you went through a bit of a rough patch, because it was like
rough isn't the word.
Yeah, you went through a bit of a rough patch. What have you learned from that experience, and if, you know, you could maybe change certain things, or if you had control over how your personality was spent to people, what would you do to try to deter that?
The first lesson I learned was creative control. You have to be in control of your own creativity and how you're presented to people. I remember doing the show and literally calling Mona every night, like crying, like, okay, how do I beat this? Like, I got 4 and 5 people in my face daily, like, screaming things about me that's not really real. Like, at what point does the perspective or the narrative change? You know, like, I can't beat 5 people. I can't say I'm not this, and I know I've never slept with that person. So it was that type of situation. I was just like, never again allow somebody to produce who you are. What was the question? You know, I smoke sometimes.
Now, well, you answered the first part is creative control, meaning, like, you know, controlling your own destiny and how you want to be portrayed. I guess the second part would be, if you could do anything different than, or handle, I guess, circumstances or situations different.
I also learned to temper the way I chase the check, because once I found out that when you're on Love and Hip Hop or a reality show in general, if you're not on TV that night, you don't get a check. So basically, you can film for 9 months straight, and if you're only on one episode, you get 1 check. I was the first in Love and Hip Hop history to be on all 15 episodes, because I learned that I was like, oh man, I need every single check. So I went with the flow of things and how I was being portrayed, and I was like, okay, next season they'll give me my light and they'll show who I really am, because the basis of me even going on that show was I wanted to show or present to the world the pursuit of happiness. Like, I wanted to show them, hey, I work at, you know, I'm an investment banker and I have a kid and I'm on radio and I'm not a hoe and I never had to sleep my way. And that was not the premise of the show. They're like, oh, bitch, shove that up your ass. This is what we're going to do with you. So basically just temper myself a little bit more. Not every check is a good check. And I will say that I actually spent more money on my attorneys and trying to break contracts and certain things than I did on the show itself. So.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. So how were, like, during that time, you said that you have a son, like, how was that discussion with him? Like, I'm sure at that point he was able to watch it on TV, and maybe his friends were too. So what was that conversation like with him?
The dope thing about that is there's Raqi Thunda, Raqi Bugatti, Radio Raqi, whoever that is. And then there's Mom for me. And there's always been a separation of those two. And my son is so well balanced. Like, he doesn't even get into drama at all. He doesn't even like those types of shows. So obviously he was excited that I was on reality, but he watched the first episode and vowed from that day on, like, I will never watch this again. And it was funny because the town that I live in, all the kids felt the same way, because they know me as Mom, the one who makes cookies, and I'm not painting a picture. I'm really like, I have blueberries here for my kids now. My grassroots kids, you know, I'm trying to get you guys up to 5 antioxidants a day. But now, so they know me as just like the cool ass Mom, and so they were just like, that's not cool. We don't like how that looks. So there was no conversation to be had. They figured out from day one, like, oh, this is not who we know, and we don't want any parts of it. So that was cool.
Yeah. Now, affecting relationships, right? As far as that show goes, I know that affected a few of the, I guess, core people in your relationship. How is that now? Were you able to kind of get them to see like, yo, none of this shit was real, and y'all should have known this shit wasn't real, but
Yeah.
you know, I get it because just
it changed from their perspective and mine as well. I'm not gonna lie, doing that show, I felt lost. Like there was moments, and I'm not using this word loosely, I had suicidal moments because I would come home and it was like I was just a fraction of myself. Like I live a really charmed life. Like even me and my girlfriends, we don't call each other bitch. Like it's like we don't have that type of disrespect for each other. And I'm a pretty tough cookie. I've been through a lot of shit in life, and I never knew how damaging being called a hoe and a bitch every day, like while filming 16-hour days, how it really like leaves a mark on you. Or someone like myself is pretty spiritual and drama-free in my real life. So once again, I forgot the goddamn question.
Take 3. No.
I just had a whole entire moment. Let's go again.
So the question was really posed around, you know, how is the relationship now?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
stay focused, please.
It's rough.
Need some blueberries?
I need less THC in my tea. The relationships are where they need to be. I'm still battling with being even affiliated with that show. I have this weird thing now. It's just like I walk into a room or just have conversations with the executives that I knew before, even new ones, and I always feel like I have the scarlet letter on me. And it's really weird because I have good friends in the industry. They're like, Raqi, it's 5 years. You're way past that now. And it's still like, no, but I was that girl to you.
Yeah.
So I've changed how I move, and I fell back a lot more, and it's taught me not to have to lean on anyone. So it actually helped my hustle a lot more as well. But I also hold a small grudge towards people who used to hold me down prior to doing that show and how they backed up off of you. But, you know, they say don't take it personally, but it's just like I was that girl to you. I was, you know, my introduction used to be, oh, she's the next Angie Martinez. And they went from that to like, oh, what up, Rock? And I'm like, what up from over there? Like, really, the head nod? Okay. Yeah. So, you know, the love is still there, but I learned to temper that as well.
Did you get into like the whole spiritual thing like after that? Like when you realized that just like mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, it was just so draining for you?
I've always been spiritual. I've always been the mixture of Erykah Badu, Rihanna, and Cardi B. Like I'm just a mixture of all of them. I did have to tap into it a lot more after doing this show because I was becoming broken. I would go on my Instagram and see, I mean, people that I've never even met in my life, like, you a hoe. And I'm like, but why? Somebody tell me why. And it's just like, prove it. And it's funny because the entire season shooting that show, including the reunion, I'm like, prove it. Say a name. And Mona's like, let's move forward, Raqi. And I'm like, no, fuck you. And the horse that you rode in on, I need one of these girls to name a name. And it was almost impossible. Not saying that I haven't had my who-ish moments. I'm an adult. But no one to this day can ever pinpoint anyone and say, oh, she dated this guy. I'm very, very private with my life. Yeah. So, yeah. But no.
Privacy. I like that. Privacy.
I'm extremely
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, because all of you guys were on at once, and for me, it was tough. It really was tough. Like, I only watched, because I never really got into love and hip hop like that until that season. Because I'm like, like my family is on, like, you know, like
that
everyone is
rough.
on. And then I felt like I was going through it with you guys, because I'm just like, yo, that's not Raqi. Like, yo, damn, Joe, what's happening? Like,
I don't know if your audience knows that we're like family, like for real.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
But well, I guess they now. Yeah, they know now. But it was tough for me, you know, having to look at it and be like, yo, that's fucked up. Like, that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not her. Like, it
was very damaging for our friendships, not mine, yours, for Joe and I. He had a lot more experience in being in front of the camera and knowing how to strategically place certain things. And so I remember the first day actually filming with him, and it was cool. It was like, okay, I can do this. And then I walk out the room and I'm still mic'd up and he's mic'd up, and I'm in another room and they're like touching my makeup up, and I hear him saying, oh yeah, Raqi's gonna woo 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 woo. And I was like, Raqi's gonna what? So I'm like, what the fuck is Joe talking about? And he was kind of producing the show in his own way for it to kind of come out the way it did. But I didn't understand. I'm like, you're my friend. You're not supposed to do that. He's like, shut up, Raq. It's TV. So it was a lot. I didn't understand the dynamics of the show. I didn't understand. What I really didn't understand was, everyone say, oh, don't do that show. It's just full of drama. And I'm like, oh, well, they can't edit anything I don't say. And, the things I said and the things I did, I really did do. But in a 16-hour production day, they could have me sitting here having this cool-ass conversation with Grassroots, and by hour 16, I'm not fed and I'm on Hennessy, and now I'm going off on you like, bitch, this is taking way too long. And now you're editing just that part every single day. So if you chose me to be the villain, every day, every episode that I'm on, I'm going to be the villain. And I didn't understand that part.
That's crazy.
I can't lie. I don't watch any of that.
You shouldn't. You save brain cells. Congratulations. Have some antioxidants.
Yeah, that was the only season I really watched outside of Atlanta, because I like Steve.
Yeah, I just
no, those are some real characters.
I don't know. I just don't like drama. I don't like drama in my life. I don't like watching drama on TV. Like I was the kid that I'd rather watch the Discovery Channel or something like that.
Me too. That's what's funny. I'm like the Discovery, the history girl. Like I read books. So for me to go from that to love and hip hop, and it's funny. One of the producers, because I had a moment where it was like a complete mental breakdown. Like, why? How does this happen? How is this happening to me? And the producer finally had a moment with me in one of the production vans. It was like, listen, if you call a hoe, there's no fight, there's no resolution. If you call a stripper, it's what it is. But if you call someone who has struggled their whole life and really hustled their whole life to get to a certain place without being a hoe, without being a stripper, without being this, they're going to fight for their life. So we need that. So I was like, okay, so you find the sacrificial lamb out of everyone who's going to go crazy if you call them a hoe. And yeah, basically. So I was like, okay, so you guys are playing God and this is the Hunger Games. And okay.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So basically, they kind of orchestrate these, I guess, situations or circumstances based off of your own emotions. It's almost like playing chess with your emotions at that point.
Oh, shit,
the
she put
producers
fire on.
there. I was like, wait, she put fire on.
If you're listening, she just lit incense. It's about to get real.
I was like,
It just got real. Just so you're aware, ladies and gentlemen.
No, the producers, the room full of producers are some are media trained and some are psychologists in a sense. So it's literally when I started interviewing to do the show, it's like, well, what's one thing that you don't want to be, want to be as your character, your role? What's one thing that would kill you if someone said about you? And I was like, well, don't ever say anything about my son, which was the trigger. Every single time. That's something people don't know, that I can't even tell you how many times we were shooting a scene and they wanted me to jump up and slap a bitch and go crazy. And I wouldn't, and the producer would pull the person out and they'll come back and yeah, so your son. And now I'm going ape shit. But that's what they wanted to capture. They just wanted me going ape shit. So there's times in the episodes you would see me a girl what's wrong with you? And I'm like, bitch, I'll kill you. Yeah. But that didn't happen then. It happened because she said something about my kid or whatever it is.
Oh.
Damn.
Yeah, it's that chopped
it
and
literally
screwed.
Is the Hunger Games.
Chopped and screwed shit, man.
It is. So I have to take responsibility for my actions but I still say to this day I'm justified, and if they played the full, the entire footage that they have, they're like, oh, okay, she's not crazy. Oh, she's not 7. I would have killed that person too. I would have went. Yeah. And for the record, no one, the entire season, all 15 episodes, put their hands on me. Not one person. Just want to.
Oh, so you had no hair grab, no.
I did have a drink poured in my face. I did.
Yeah.
And smashed in my face, which is really funny because the whole makeup team and everyone who did our makeup the next day was just like, she's really sorry. She didn't mean for the cup to fly out her hand too. So it was like, no, fuck that. The cup smacked me in my face. But yeah, it gets real. One thing about reality TV, it's not scripted per se where it's actually written out, but the producers, they build a momentum during the day. It's we know how to trigger her and this, that, and the other. And
wait, so when you guys are like talking or in a scene, do they like pull one of you guys aside
All the
and
time.
like
All the time.
So like, you'll be like, so it looks like you're having full conversation, but that conversation could be like an hour long, and they pull you out for a second. And it's like
hours. And like I can say this, for instance, Ebro, Hot 97 Ebro, I actually invited him on the show. And it was funny because from Mona to every other producer on the show, it's like, if he doesn't show up, that's a $45,000 production day that you just ruined because we've been asking him to come on the show and he won't come on the show. I'm like, he's coming on the show. And lo and behold, he walked in the rest. I'm like, that's my man, 40 grand. So the premise of me inviting him is like, I need you after I've been going through hell with all these others, right? I need you to really let people know that I put down the work. Like I've been on the scene for a minute. And it was cool. And we're filming, and he's like, yeah, Raqi's, has a resume, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear Mona, hey, bro. And then he's gone for a minute, and he comes back, and he has a whole new demeanor. I'm like, what? And then an hour later, now we're going back and forth, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, he completely turned on me. And I was just like, wow, you did that for camera? Really? Camera time? But, I found out like maybe a month later that they were offered that weak-ass Hot 97 TV show that they did that flopped. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You severed my head for it, do you?
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
have some berries.
Have some antioxidants.
Have some blueberries.
That's a wild story.
Yeah.
All right. Fast forwarding from that shit.
Yeah, fuck love and hip hop.
Yeah. so moving forward, you're now Money Team.
Yeah.
Certified massage.
We're all Money Team, by the way. We're all Money Team. I
ain't Money Team.
Wow.
We're all
How my
team.
checking and savings look like.
The way my check-ins and savings is set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to us about that. How do you get such a great opportunity? I mean, you introduced us to one of our guests before, Dewan Blake. Shout out to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dewan, and thank you so much for setting it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very, very cool, humble dude.
Super cool.
Very knowledgeable.
His story was crazy too.
Yeah, his story is wild. So how does that come about? Because his was very unique. His circumstance was either you were going to be in jail, prosecuted one day, to then you getting flown out. Tell me about your experience.
This is a story that I've never told anyone.
Ooh. Do tell us.
So, I also DJ. You guys know that part, right?
Yes.
So I DJ. Okay. At that about 4.5 years ago, I was contracted to Chambord, and so I would do some ambassadorship and DJing for them, and we would fly all over the country, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, cool. I wanted to go to the Mayweather fight and DJ one of his parties because I knew he was going to win. So I did that, blah, blah, blah. The funny part of that story is I was actually dating someone at the time in Live. And I found some disparaging news accidentally. He called me by accident, butt dialed me. And I stood on that phone until the shit got hot. I'm listening to every goddamn word he and she was saying. And I was like, woo, unbreak my heart.
Yikes.
Oh,
So
man.
I called him back and I'm like, I can be vicious. And I'm like, you know what? Since you want to play and you want to act like you don't remember who I am, I'm going to show you something. When I get to Vegas, I'm going to land the big fish. And it literally was just like that. I went out there, I DJ'd, I had a radio interview there, and I was like, how do I get to the man? I want to get to the man. And I met a couple people, and that day I was in his house, and it was a couple days before the fight, literally 3 days before Maidana, I think it was, the Maidana fight. And I was at his house, and there was maybe 70 people at his house. And I'm like, holy shit. First of all, I'm cracking up because I'm like, once again, Raqi, the Oracle, anything you want, you get. Mm-hmm. So I'm in his beautiful mansion, and he's walking around. He's like, yeah, I got 25 Bugattis. And I'm like, he really does have all of this shit. But I was like, I want to know more. I want to know more about you because I've heard there's 25 Bugattis and 26 houses and this and that and the other. And I was kind of like, I'm bored. And it's a snooze fest. Like, what else do you got, buddy? And he's a great host, and he's going to show you every trick and trade and everything he got going on in that house. So you're like, oh my God, it's like walking into like an adult Disney World. Mm-hmm. But me having a way about myself and wanting to know the depths of someone, I was just like sitting there unimpressed. And the night was winding down, and I started talking to him about, his girlfriends, plural, and, I brought up my grandfather who was Muslim, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just like a totally different dynamic. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy is totally different than I ever imagined. So long story short, he started asking me a ton of questions that I just wasn't even prepared to be asked by the champ of the world. I'm like, wow, he's like really interested in having this conversation. So I was like, yeah, I'm a realtor in New Jersey and I do this. And he's like, oh, well, I got somebody who needs a house and link up with this one. And there's 2 other realtors in the house at that moment. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a DJ and I'm this and that. And so there was 25 different people in there to link up with, like, okay, you're an international DJ. I'm going to give you my DJ card, and you're a broker and I'm going to give you my real estate card. So it literally, from that day, I never gave him my number. 2 weeks later, one of the realtors called me and said, hey, listen, I'm working a project in Miami, but I need someone to do something for the Mayweathers in New Jersey. And it was like, cool. And from there, it was just like, and I will say, out of all the people I know on this planet, he takes advantage and capitalizes off of any great attribute you have. So if you're a realtor, he's going to get you to get those houses. If you're a DJ, you're going to DJ 10 parties that night. If you're a writer, at the end of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning when the party's over, you're going to be writing. And so that's crazy. To TFT.
Yeah. That's cool that you said.
And it's funny because it's built so much from there, because like everything I've ever done in my whole life, I do for TMT. Mm-hmm. So he has a club called the Girl Collection. It's a strip club. And I was there from when it was dirt until what it is now. And actually right now, I'm already renovating the entire club. So that brings in my interior design portion of Raqi. So I'm doing that and a million and one other things. But it pays well. He's very generous. You don't sleep. You might not eat for a few days, but,
it's worth
the check comes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll say that I work 4 or 5 months straight for the year, and then everything else is play or whatever else I want to do. Mm-hmm. But when I say 4 or 5 months straight, I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 days sleeping maybe 2 hours in 5 days. And that's because that's his regimen. That's the guy's a beast. He's not even from this planet. Mm-hmm. I mean, in training camp, the guy runs with donuts and Coca-Cola in his hand. I've never seen anything like it. So you have to be built a certain way. So I want to give props to, especially the girls that are in TMT. I know a lot of people see them, oh, that's his girlfriend or she's a hoe. Like automatically, when you're around that guy, they're like, oh, he's sleeping with you. And that's just automatic. And you have to have tough skin and be like, oh, whatever. But the women of TMT, the ones that you see and the ones that you don't, when I tell you work like I've never seen before, like to work for Floyd Mayweather, you have to be able to weather every storm. Like, okay, you didn't sleep for 48 hours, so what? The jet is waiting for you and
gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go. So
does it ever get like tiring at a certain point where like every phase of your career, it's like, oh, she's sleeping with this person, next phase. Oh, she's sleeping with this person, next phase.
It used to, when I tell you, it used to make me cry, like literally, and I used to fight. And I realized that the more you fight, the more energy you give it, the more they go at you. Because they love that shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, oh, she's losing it. She's, it's not that serious, Ma. If it's not that serious, why the fuck do you keep saying it to me? Yeah. Right? But it used to drive me insane. And then when I finally attached myself to the real bag, it was just like, well, say what you want to say, because it's worth the look or whatever, or being discredited, because I'm making deposits regularly. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, hey. The IRS didn't hear that.
I was about to say, you about to get audited right after this.
Woo!
Where she live? We don't know.
Yeah, no, I deal with it all the time, but it's just like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're doing something great, though, that's when most haters come. The more haters you have, like, it shows that you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. Shoot, we have haters now. Yeah. Like,
hey, congratulations,
guys. We're moving on up.
It's so funny because I'm in the process of also writing a book too, but it's just so funny. Girls, guys. I don't understand why people can't wrap this part around their mind, but as a woman who has a look, whether you have a look or not, sexy, cute, whatever it may be, or you're just smart as hell, you get so much more not sleeping with the person than you do sleeping with the person. The moment you sleep with the person, your time starts ticking, bitch.
Yeah.
You're expiring.
Yeah.
There's only but so many tricks you can do.
Thank you.
Like, you could have the sauciest ass on the planet. There's someone else who has another kind of jam or jelly on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So one thing I do know about men and wealthy men and successful men, they're hunters, 100% hunters. You can't just lay down and be the prey. I'm just dead here. I'm waiting. No, like, if you keep them on the chase, you're good forever.
Yeah.
Men will pay an enormous amount of money for something they can't have.
And also, they like when you treat them like humans, especially when they're celebrities.
Or
Like,
peasants.
you stand out. Well,
Yeah.
no, but you stand out when you're actually treating like a human being. Like you were saying, like you were not impressed, or you're like, okay, I want to know who you are. I don't care about the car stuff. And they're like, oh shit, I've never had anyone say that.
It's just now where the blinders are off. 4 years in, where I'm like, now I'm like receiving everything that he does and he gets. I'm like, he goes to Beverly Hills and is like, oh, it's an $11 million house. I'm going to buy it. And I'm usually the person behind him, like looking over contracts and doing this, that, and the other. So I'm not really in it. I'm like, fuck it, it's not mine. But now really being a part of the team, I'm like, whoa, this guy really, now I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Beyond belief, because I'm a part of it and I see the work he puts into it. I've been through several training camps with him, and he's brilliant, and a lot of people don't know that. So now I'm impressed.
Now, what are some of the things that you've picked up, I guess, from him and that team? Because you were, kind of inserted in as the kind of the newbie. So now you're kind of, in a sense, giving him guidance on certain things.
Right.
What are certain things that you've just observed where you're like, oh shit, I wouldn't have thought to think about it like that, or wow, you handled this, rather well. I'm impressed by it.
What I've observed is just being extremely observant.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned from him specifically. I used to say, like, this guy is an alien, because he can be in a full conversation with you right here and know what's going on over there and over there and over there, like literally word for word, and can tell you maybe 2 months later, yeah, remember when I was doing that interview, you said such and such, and like, how do you know that, man? You were over here. So I learned how to be like 100% on. So it's like, if I'm doing this interview and I have something else going on, I'll schedule it or whatever it is. Just being completely observant and in the moment until you're not needed to be in the moment and you take a nap. Which I need now. By the way, I've taken cough medicine. You guys know that. I just came back from Colombia and did another whole world tour, so I'm a little under the weather. So it's not just the weed.
Yeah. I feel like I'm high in here.
Yeah. Have some more antioxidants.
Oh my God.
Yo, I feel like antioxidant is like code for something else.
So,
Keys, you grabbing them.
To add to that, and this is just not my resume that I'm putting out there. I'm just telling you, just being a part of TMT and also being the person that I am, I'm evolving all the time. So when you find someone who's, who's supportive in you evolving and making changes, 'cause a lot of people aren't. They're like, wait a minute, you were a rapper on Tuesday and now, so what? If you can do it and capitalize off it and love what you're doing, do it. So I always wanted to become a massage therapist since I was really, really young, not knowing how much went into being a massage therapist. I just knew that I love getting massages. I was spending a stupid amount of money getting massages, and my friends are like, bitch, you're way too fancy. But I'm like, no, everyone needs basic human touch. Without intimacy, without it being sexual, like, it's so needed. So it was just something I always wanted to do, but I had so many other things going on that it was like there was no time for me to ever go to school. And being with TMT, I was able to carve out different ways for me to work with him, be it remotely or on the weekends, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to become a massage therapist, and I told him about it. I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. And he's like, go with it. And I don't know too many people that will leave the team and all the money that you can get while working to go ahead and spend almost a year in school. Like, I'm talking about 13-hour days, like, to take an accelerated course. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And if it means out of sight, out of mind, I know what's for me is for me. So literally, I would go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until 7 o'clock. And literally, I'll get a call like, hey, the jet is there. And I'm literally out of school Friday on a jet to somewhere in the country. and then flying on a jet back to school Monday morning.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I know
For
what
a year.
that's like.
yeah. Yep.
Oh, man.
And I didn't skip a beat. Every project that I worked on for him got done, whether it was me having to facilitate the project through FaceTime, I did it. And there was many nights I've cried because I'm exhausted, but
Paid off.
it worked out. Yeah.
Paid
So
off.
I'm a licensed massage therapist. I started off, I didn't intend on being his personal massage therapist, but it just so happened that right when I graduated, like I think I graduated on a Thursday, Friday I was back in Vegas and training camp was starting again. So it's like, okay, now I'm focused on massage therapy with him. As well
He's
as
like,
everything
let's see what the
Let's
fuck
see
you
what
done
you
learned.
got. Which is really, really funny because I do so many other things for him. So it was the balancing act of, okay, I just worked from 7 a.m. to now it's 7 a.m. again, and he's finally winding down. It's like, oh yeah, take off your construction hat. I know you were renovating, but yeah, you're the massage therapist now. So it's like at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, holy shit now. Yeah, but it's just really dope. Everything is just really dope when you're with a team that supports your dreams. So it's just like I can go from, being the writer of the team or the interior designer for the team, and now I'm the massage therapist, so my resume is insane. And it's tangible things I can show you. I can walk you into a club and show you, hey, this was never here, and this is the blueprint, and I made that happen. And so from that point on, after training camp and the whole world tour happens, I come back home and now I'm jacked up. I'm wired because I'm used to not sleeping for days on end. So it's like, what am I going to get into? And so from that point on, I end up, I got a client who is actually the president of Nike, who does all of the athletic branding for Kyrie Irving, LeBron James.
We need sponsorship. We need sponsorship.
And they have really great clients. So it was just like, hey, what do you got? And I was like, okay, I got you. And
What's his name?
I will withhold that. And,
we need sponsorship.
Yeah, so now I'm 3 months into being the personal massage therapist for Nike branding and athletics.
That's crazy.
So she's basically Superwoman. Yeah.
I'm not calling her that, but whatever.
I just do
Super
what I
Raqi.
gotta do. I just do what I gotta do,
Yeah.
I still have so much more room to grow. I'm always willing to learn. Like, the flaw in all of this is that I haven't found that one thing that makes me say, okay, this is it. This is it. This is what I want right here forever.
Well, I mean, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing or a flaw because I think it's more of a perk considering that just shows your drive. Like
I'm getting older. I am getting a little tired, a little weary.
Yeah, but you still have the drive and the hustle, and you still want more. I'm big on that. I'm big on always wanting more for yourself because I feel like the moment you get complacent or the moment you really just sit down and just stop, I feel like that's when you really start to die. And I don't mean to sound dramatic, but that's really how I feel. I feel like you live every day for something.
I'm hustling to buy time. Mm-hmm. When I first started, getting money and figuring out like there's really money out there, I wanted to buy bags and shoes and this and that. And I do like that stuff, but at this point in my life, it's like I'm hustling to buy time. There's a certain point in my life where I want to say, that's it, I'm done. It's kind of like a retirement. But I don't want to hustle as hard as I do now because I've been at this for some time.
Yeah.
So it's all at some point it's all gonna come to a point where I'm gonna sit on the beach in white linen and you guys are gonna come to me and just pay me for my essence.
Yeah. No, I'm probably not, but I'll appreciate your grind.
Yeah, my storytelling and my experience will be something that I will be paid for at some point.
Yeah, I always say that you do. You keep very good relationships. Yeah. Why do you think that is? And you often call yourself the hip hop confidant. Right. Why do you think that some of the most important people in the world are comfortable enough to confide in you and open up to you in a sense?
That I have to give the credit to God and the universe. I didn't ask for it. It's dope in a way. It's like, wow, I have some really great connections, but it's also a major burden, like to mentally, emotionally, even physically for myself, carrying a lot of people's stresses and their stories and me trying to help figure them out and pull them out the dark side or whatever it may be. that's just something that was given to me by God, and being the confidant for people, because it really didn't start out for me saying, oh, I want to be hip hop's confidant, I want to know your business. It started off for me where it's just like, okay, I want to interview you, and then it's like as soon as the interview was over, these conversations just started flowing, and it's like, fuck, I needed that on camera and I need this on tape, and it's like, okay, maybe it's not for that. You know, there's a bigger purpose. So I'm still trying to figure out what that purpose is, aside from it just being a great having great relationships with people. I know that there's a purpose behind it, and part of it, I know it's to humanize the people that I have these relationships with, be it an executive or a superstar or megastar, whatever they may be. People tend to dehumanize them and see them only as a star, only as an athlete, and only as a rapper. And it's like, no, he cries like real tears. Like I've literally like held this person sobbing, you know, for different things that happen in their life, etc. And it's not only just dark things or, you know, things that are hurtful. It's like their joys in life or just weird things. It's just like, he really wants to be a wrestler. And if I told you who that person was, you would fall out. But I've had I've had a conversation with someone that's like,
Floyd wants to be a wrestler.
No, not him. Not him, but someone who is just like, completely out of his element. And it's like he has the whole outfit design in his head. And like this is an inner dream that people wouldn't know about. So I think one day I would have a platform to bring that to life.
Well, maybe also part of it is that whatever you set in your mind, you go for it. And people like that. And maybe they wish they had that inside themselves that they see in you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Could be.
Because you're just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and do it. Boom, boom, boom. Like literally, your entire story is just like, yeah, I want to do this. And then you go and do it. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And
I'll be honest, I don't even credit myself for that. Like there isn't, you know, I don't have a strategy. I don't have a plan book on how I make it happen. I just say I'm going to do it, and I just do it. And I prepare myself for rejection. I prepare myself for, you know, the door getting slammed in my face. But it's just like, no, I'm going to do it. That door is slammed in my face just because they want me to kick it in harder.
But most people are afraid to even start.
Yeah. I had a big dose of that after doing Love and Hip Hop. That show just was like the absolute worst thing I ever did in my life. But after that, I was hit with, oh man, I wonder if this person knows Raqi Thunda from Love and Hip Hop, right? And doesn't know who I really am. So the first time in my life I ever had that blockage of fear was after doing that show. It was just like I pulled back completely and was like, oh, I can't do that because they're going to remember me from doing this stupid show, and they're going to think I'm this and think I'm that. But guess what? Bills still had to get paid, and I'm not about to lay down and just die. So
looking back on just your journey, past, present, future, what can we expect from you? Like, what is the next thing?
Don't expect anything from me. That's first and foremost. I don't even know what to expect from myself. Honestly, I have no idea. Just expect for me to keep growing and evolving and tapping more into my spiritual side, where it's where I'm leaning more towards every day. Like I used to think that I had to separate Raqi Thunda, Raqi Bugatti, the personality and the industry hustler, and my spiritual side. And I'm learning now with age, you don't have to. And if you walk in with your spirituality with you, you won't end up in situations that I might have in the past. So, yeah. Expect greatness. Expect me for one day you're watching me and poof, I'm like enlightened and you don't see me and you're like, oh shit, where's Raqi? Oh, she's up there with Gandhi and them.
Well, no, the moment that happens, I'm going to dish you. Let me be clear. I'm going to dish the shit out of you.
As you see like the smoke in the background here.
Yeah, man. I'm way too comfortable here.
No. This is the napping grounds here, and it's cool. A lot of people don't know this side of me, but it's who I am. This is me.
For a second,
I'll still slap the shit out of someone, you know, with the hand of God.
I can't lie. When she lit the lighter, I thought she was burning some sage. Like, this conversation. No,
I'm gonna sage once you guys leave, just in case you guys have a trail of shit with you. I don't know what's going on. No. You know, I'll ask you guys that question when my podcast comes out, which Brandon has been driving me crazy to get my podcast.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what? You were starting a podcast?
Yes, Raqi.
You need to start it.
I gave her some very, very good jewels because she's always been very great obviously, especially to us and to me. So I gave her some really, really good jewels. I'm hoping that she does follow through because I think you are needed in this day and age. Like I always said that, and even when I talked about you coming on, I always said like her personality, you'll get it. Like she's just dumb cool. Like you'll get it. Like she's like,
I got it.
And I was like, yo, the moment you meet her, it's not one of those things where you gotta kind of ease in. And she's very just straight to the point, blunt, crazy, but cool.
Yeah.
And with that type of personality and that type of energy, I always felt that it needed to be expressed on a bigger platform. And when you said it to me that you were thinking about starting, and the first thing I said was, "Oh, you 100% need to do it. You need to do it out of all people."
The dope thing about it is Brandon again gave me a ton of gems and sent me a text of all the equipment that I need to buy, because the main reason why I didn't start the podcast when I said I was a few years ago is because I didn't want to be static or stagnant in any one place. I'm like, I can't commit to a Monday or Tuesday every week in one place. And now seeing that you can move around with it and get shit done, I'm like, okay, it's on. So the name of the podcast is The Mental Fuck. And
there need to be t-shirts too for that.
T-shirts.
I need that mental fuck.
I've been mentally fucking you all day.
Yeah, basically. I'm gonna walk out of here fucking twitching and shit. I know what the fuck is going on.
So we're going to wrap this up, guys? No.
Yes, no, we are rapping. We're rapping.
It was really, really cool. I'm really proud of you, Brandon. I'm proud of both of you guys for moving forward with this. I know the podcast world is oversaturated with people, but, the cream of the crop rises to the top. So I think you guys are well on your way.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you again for welcoming us into this spiritual home here. But we do wish you the best. Again, you've now been rooted. That's our new shit, rooted.
Oh,
so
snap.
Rooted and suited.
You've been rooted.
Rooted.
So you're forever ingrained in our guests of people that we believe in, that we will continue to
No, don't call them guests. Call them grassroots family.
Yeah,
We're family.
Well, family now at this point. You're family.
That's love. I love it. And I actually have some grass, if you guys want. So we can really establish this.
Look at
grass
Johnny.
rooted.
Look at Johnny.
Johnny's like, I'll take it.
Do I count?
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to being on again when I have some more information. Probably not here in this one because I've just been real suave and cool. You guys might want the other personality too, but thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Once again, I'm Brandon, Killabh Hall.
And I'm Erin Ashley Simon.
And I'm Raqi Thunda Bugatti. Signing out.
And we out.
Signing out.
And we out.
Signing out.
And we out.